Welcome back to Technically You, where we break down complex topics and make them easy to understand. Today, we're catching the wind, literally. We're talking all about wind energy, the good, the bad, and whether it's the future of sustainable power or just another tech with big hurdles.
Well, here's something that might surprise you. Those giant wind turbines we see everywhere? A single modern one can power 1,500 homes, which is the equivalent energy output of burning 900 tons of coal each year.
Wow, that's a pretty mind blowing comparison. You know, I drove past a wind farm recently and couldn't help wondering about the real story behind those massive spinning blades. Well, what's fascinating is that wind power isn't some new technology. We're actually building on principles that go back thousands of years. Those ancient grain grinding windmills were using the same basic concept we use today. Hmm. So, how exactly did we get from grinding grain to powering entire cities?
Oh, the engineering is actually quite elegant. When wind hits those massive blades, it creates lift, just like an airplane wing. That motion connects to a shaft, then a gearbox, and finally powers a generator. But here's what's really interesting. Modern turbines can generate enough electricity in just one day to power an average home for over a month.
Wow. What are some of the other major benefits of wind energy?
First off, it's renewable. As long as the wind blows, we've got power.
It's also clean energy. It does not emit greenhouse gases or burn fossil fuels, which means less pollution.
And believe it or not, wind energy creates jobs, from manufacturing and installation to maintenance and operations.
Another big plus is that it reduces reliance on fossil fuels and helps stabilize energy prices since wind is free. But what happens when the wind isn't blowing?
Well, that's one of the biggest challenges. You need consistent wind speeds of at least 10 miles per hour for these turbines to be effective. And get this, if the wind is too strong, around 55 miles per hour or more, they actually have to shut down to prevent damage.
So, what you're saying is location really matters for these things.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why we have different types of turbines for different environments. The traditional three-blade ones we usually see are called HAWTS. These are the most common, with the traditional three-blade design. They're super efficient, but need open space and constant wind. And there's also these fascinating VAWTS that look like giant egg beaters. These are less common, look more like egg beaters, and can work in urban areas since they don't need to face the wind directly.
Speaking of urban areas, I've heard some pretty heated debates about having these near populated areas.
That's right. There are definitely concerns about noise and what some call visual pollution. But here's something surprising. Newer designs have reduced noise levels to about the same as your average refrigerator at 100 feet away.
And speaking of populated areas, aren't there offshore wind farms? I read that offshore turbines are built in the ocean, where wind speeds are more substantial. Because of this, they have unique designs to deal with the high speed and destructive nature of the ocean. But what about the wildlife impact we keep hearing about? This is where the technology gets really interesting. Some newer turbines actually have wildlife detection systems that can slow or stop the blades when birds are nearby. While wildlife impact is a real concern, studies show that cats in buildings cause far more bird deaths than wind turbines. That puts things in perspective. But let's discuss the economics. These are expensive to build and maintain.
You're right about the upfront costs being high. A single utility-scale turbine costs about $2 to $3 million to install. But here's the game changer. Wind energy costs have dropped by more than 70% in the last decade, making it one of the most cost-competitive energy sources available.
That kind of price drop is pretty remarkable. What's driving that change?
It's a combination of better technology, more efficient manufacturing, and economies of scale. Plus, once they're up and running, the fuel, wind, is free. These turbines can operate for 20 to 25 years with proper maintenance.
But what about for individual homeowners? Is small scale wind power actually viable?
That really depends on several factors. You need the right wind conditions, enough land, and local zoning approval. Small turbines exist, but here's something people don't often consider. They typically need at least an acre of land and wind speeds averaging 10 miles per hour to be worth the investment.
Looking ahead, where do you see this technology going?
The innovations coming down the pipeline are fascinating. As we mentioned earlier, researchers are developing floating offshore wind farms that can access stronger winds in deeper waters, and new materials that make blades lighter and more efficient. Some designs are even experimenting with bladeless turbines.
That sounds like science fiction. Turbines without blades?
It's real. They work by oscillating in the wind, kind of like a giant straw waving back and forth. And while they generate less power than traditional turbines, they're cheaper to maintain and safer for wildlife.
You know what's really striking about all this? It seems like wind power keeps getting better, even if it's not perfect yet.
Exactly. And that's what makes this technology so promising. We're really just at the beginning of understanding what's possible with wind power. The future might look very different from those three-blade giants we see today.
And maybe that future will be a lot breezier than we thought.
Well, as long as the wind keeps blowing, we'll keep finding better ways to harness it. After all, it's one of the few energy sources that's truly unlimited.
That's it for today. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that subscribe button and follow us for more deep dives into cutting-edge technology.
And as always, stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.